Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us at the Dashmesh Cultural Centre for the Community Town Hall this afternoon. I don't have a prepared statement. I have my partners here that have subject matter expertise in each of the different areas, so happy to take any questions about why we're here and what the intended outcomes of this event are.
So why are we here?
So we're having a community engagement town hall this evening, and the purpose is to inform the community about the extortion events that's been happening in Calgary and across the country for about the last year and a half. The objective is to provide some preventative measures, tips for how community members can safeguard themselves, their homes, and their businesses, provide updates in the investigation where we're able to, and then encourage reporting, because we believe strongly that the community has a lot of information, but oftentimes there's a hesitation or a reticence to report because of fear of reprisal, stigma, or taboo in working with the police. And so we also have partners here from Crime Stoppers this evening, and we're going to reassure members of the community that there's a way that this information can be reported under a guise of anonymity, and each and every tip that Crime Stoppers receives will be followed up by the law enforcement partners who are here today.
Can I ask, do you have recent stats on how prevalent it is in Calgary?
Yes, of course. So working with our partners from the Alberta Law Enforcement Response Team, we are collectively investigating 21 extortion group-related events in and around the Calgary region. And of those 21 events, 11 of them have manifested themselves in shootings or other types of violence.
Can you walk us through, just in reading, so is it, are they specific cases, like individual cases, or is there a common theme, or if you can just kind of go over what's happening?
Yeah, so typically the offenders are targeting members of the South Asian community, as is typically the case in this extortion theme. And we've seen a trend similar to this across the country, from the Lower Mainland all the way to Ontario as well. And in many cases, members of the community are being targeted through a series of scam-type calls or using online chat platforms where the offenders are requesting large sums of money from the victims and are making threats that if the sums of money are not paid to the offenders, then they will face retribution in the form of violence.
And are both folks here in Calgary, or where is it? Like the victims are here and the offenders?
So it's difficult to ascertain exactly where the offenders are. As I said, our teams are working both locally, regionally, and nationally to investigate commonalities and similarities in where the offenders are located. For the matters that we're investigating, the victims are here in Calgary, but it's believed that some of the offenders may be local, national, here in Canada, domestic, or even overseas in some cases.
And why is this happening?
Well, I believe that members of the South Asian community are particularly vulnerable, those that are engaged in entrepreneurial or business interests, and it's believed that through fear, the offenders are able to extort them for sums of money that could be generated through their business prospects.
Deputy Chief, these town halls, is this something that we're going to see more of? Because you're going after this one particular crime, but there's many others as you're aware of. Is this something that we're about to see more of, these town halls?
Absolutely. So for the Calgary Police Service, communication and transparency is absolutely key. We want to reassure Calgarians that right now, for this particular matter, this is public safety priority number one for the Calgary Police Service. And it's our job to reassure the community that we are taking each and every complaint that we get seriously and working with our partners, as we've said, to bring some closure and reassurance to the victims and complainants on these files.
What are you hoping to hear tonight?
We're hoping to hear what the community expects of us, where there are perceived gaps in service delivery. We're hoping that this is a forum to encourage reporting. As I said, we're going to have our partners here from Crime Stoppers, for example, and it's our deepest conviction that people in the community have information that they want to share with police, but they're often faced with fear. Like I said, the taboo, the stigma, the fear of reprisal. And we really want to encourage reporting and people to come forth and share their concerns and fears with us so we can reassure them, we can provide them with those appropriate safety measures, and we can harness some information and intelligence that we can further in our investigations.
So is that how you will measure success? That this has been successful by the amount of people that come to you at the end of this session?
I think that's one measure of success, but at the end of the day, another outcome of this work is legitimizing the work that we're doing and reassuring Calgarians that this is a priority for us. Of course, we're optimistic that through this work and through the continued communication and collaboration with the community, that it will further the investigations that our alerts and CPS Joint Forces operation is working on, and ultimately it's going to result in arrests and charges being laid.
Can I ask, how successful have you been in your investigations?
So I have Staff Sergeant Smart here from the alert team, and I'll let him answer that question if I may.
It's difficult to discuss specifics on investigations. Can assure that we have numerous investigations that are moving forward. We're employing a number of techniques to gather the necessary evidence to ultimately disrupt, dismantle, and stop these extortions in this community. So.
What are
Is
some of
this
your
coming from overseas, like an organized crime from overseas, from the mainland? What is the scope of this? What larger?
We don't, I can't quite disclose those details, and we're still gathering that evidence to prove all levels that are involved with this crime.
What are some of your challenges? And maybe do you want them over a bit more? Or is it okay? That mic's okay? What are some of your challenges with solving these crimes?
I think some of the challenges we do have is receiving that information from the public that is steering us in the right direction on a lot of these investigations. As was mentioned just shortly ago, that we do welcome those tips that do come in. We do look at them. We take everything seriously, and we're throwing everything we can at these.
Financial hit, it's quite a financial hit for these folks. Can you comment on how big it is?
I can't comment on that, no.
My question is for CBSA. So we have heard in the community that if somebody is arrested and they are temporary residents or they are on expired visa, and once you arrest them, they apply for asylum or refugee claims. So how do you deal with that?
Okay, so CBSA, we work very closely with all of our municipal and federal police partners. And so individuals come to our attention through various different mechanisms, through our police partners, or like you said, through our own processes. What I can assure you is that an individual claiming asylum is not going to be able to circumvent the consequences of their criminal actions while they're here in Canada. And so we will take efforts to investigate those individuals, follow our processes to report and to remove them when it's appropriate to do so.
Any other questions tonight?
Go ahead.
Are there any elements of transnational repression also coming up in the investigations being carried out?
Again, those would definitely be details I couldn't discuss specific to any of these investigations, but we're gathering any information that's out there that would suggest that. So I just have no comments on that at this time. So.
One follow-up for Deputy Chief. What would you say, does Calgary Police have enough tools to deal with this? Or if not, then what are your demands from the municipal, provincial or federal government?
So that's a great question. Of course, the Calgary Police Service, like all of our other public safety partners, have a finite amount of resources, and there's an infinite amount of demands. We work closely with all levels of government through our Calgary Police Commission to advocate for where we need more tools, technology and resources. And of course, this particular case has drawn the attention of all levels of government, support from our Police Commission members who are here with us today, and they too will hear firsthand from our community members as to where some of those limitations are. I can't be any more clear than to say, this incident has rattled the community with fear, with uncertainty, with confusion, and with a lot of questions. And so as the question was asked earlier, what is the function of some of these town halls? The function and the outcome is to provide reassurance to the community that we are standing shoulder to shoulder, nationally and internationally in some cases with our law enforcement and public safety officials, to make sure that we have answers for the community, that we're investigating these crimes with a level of sensitivity, cultural inclusion, and in a way that we can provide some answers to the community. And so, as was asked earlier, will we see many more town halls like this? Absolutely. We will be where community needs us at whatever time that they need us to provide those reassurances and the answers that they need.
Lack of information sharing within the police departments and other agencies is the other big issue. What are your stance on that?
That's a great question. That's why we're all standing here today unified to ensure that information is traveling seamlessly. So I can tell you that we know that some of the extortion series have happened in the Lower Mainland, in Surrey specifically. We've had investigators from Calgary go to Surrey, investigators from Surrey come to Calgary to share information. There's a national working group, there's some meetings being held next week that Calgary Police Service is participating in. And for the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, there's an organized crime committee meeting that's happening next week in Ontario that I am attending, all with the view of sharing information seamlessly across across the country. And so here in town, because we have the support of our Alberta law enforcement response team partners and from the CBSA, we're able to make sure that information travels on a daily basis, regularly, and without any impediments.
Any last questions before we wrap up for tonight? Thank
Do
you
you
all
have
for
a
coming.
cost figure for how much?
For those